everybody, and welcome back to this first session of Virtual's Best Practices 2010. And this session is devoted to Machinima. And for those of you just been watching, either on the big screen here or live on the TV stream, you've actually seen the three Machinima that have been contributed to this year's collection, as it were. And I'm delighted to say that we have on the panel all three of the creators of those Machinima. We have Val Librarian Greg. Welcome, Val. Ah, right. Well, there's the first silence. We have Stylianos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val. We also have I hope I've got the pronunciation right here. Stylianos Mystakidis. I bet that is wrong. Welcome, Stylianos.
Well said. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Mark. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And we also have, I'm just going to call her Tinkerer Angel. welcome, Tinkerer. That's a lot easier than pronouncing Stylianos' name.
Hello, Mal and everyone. Hi.
Great. Glad that you're here. I've also been joined by a special request of me by Petlove Petshop, who is actually filming this particular session for us on the channel. And I'm also managing it in the background, so it's nothing like a bit of multitasking to wake an idle male up. But Pet is very well informed when it comes to Machinima, so I thought it would be appropriate she join us. So welcome, Pet.
Thank you, Mal.
So, as I mentioned this just before we came on air, I thought what I'll do first is just go to each of the three of you and get you to introduce yourselves. Then I'll come back to each of the three of you and ask a question about the Machinima and whatever you want to say about it, and then we'll open it up to a little bit of conversation. So let me see. I think I'll start with the brief intros. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Val, I think.
Sure, thank you. Sorry about the voice issues I'm having on my computer. My main computer is installing updates even as we speak. So that makes it kind of difficult when you have voice trouble and you're juggling computers. I'm Valerie Hill, and a lot of you in virtual worlds know me as Val Librarian. I'm a school librarian. I'm also an adjunct instructor, university instructor of library science, and I'm very happy to be here with people who understand that virtual worlds are important for the future of 21st century learning. Thanks.
Thank you, Val. Stylianos.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Stylianos Mystakidis, and I am a learning innovator in Greece. I currently serve in the University of Patras as a learning manager and virtual worlds expert, but I have had the privilege of teaching in the University of Washington in the Virtual Worlds Certificate Program, and currently also in the University of the West of England in Bristol, UK, in the Masters in Education in Virtual Worlds. And I'm looking forward to sharing all interesting stuff with you and ideas. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And finally on the panel, we have, our Machinima guest, that is, we have Tinkerer Angel. So, Tinkerer.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi again. I have been a teacher of English to adults in Italy, where I live, and I'm now experimenting around the design and construction of a module to teach Italian online. I have a PGCE in online and distance education, which I took at the Open University in 2011. And after the course, I planned to spend the next couple of years experimenting with online teaching and learning as much as I could. So I found MOOCs, webinars, conferences like the VWBPE and Machinima, which is a course for people wanting to learn how to make Machinima. So this is the reason why I'm here, as I'm presenting the second part of my work, the first part being The first part of my cinematographer experience was presented at the conference in 2012. And so I hope that this second part, devoted to editing more than anything, more than camera work, will receive your appreciation. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And welcome again to Pet. I think, yes, Pet, quickly introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm also an educator. I have always been intrigued by storytelling and the effect it has with students, and especially the effect that you see when the students get to tell their own stories. And I became involved with Machinima primarily for storytelling and with the hopes that I could talk my school district into letting me use it in some of the language arts and writing classes and history as well. I wanted to use virtual worlds to get the kids to be more expressive and more engaged in what they were learning. But the school district didn't go for it. I still continued to learn, and I've enjoyed every second of it. And that's my story in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And as was mentioned earlier during Philip's keynote, in fact, I mean, this is a perfect example of an international platform. Val and Pez are both in the USA. Stylianos is in Italy, and Tinkra is in Greece. So we really do span the globe here, or at least the European American globe. But, you know, Australia's still asleep, so we've got to forgive them. Okay, now the next question I had in mind to ask each of you, may you really sort of take this at your leisure, I think. I'll go the same way around the panel, as it were, starting with Val, is ask basically what you were trying to achieve with the Machinima film we've just seen and how successful you thought it was.
Sure, I will go first with that. Why Minecraft? That's the first question. Well, I like to say that I kind of call Minecraft the kindergarten of virtual worlds. I think students are already there. They're already in virtual worlds. But instead of the buy the toy and play the game model, which is the usual model of virtual worlds, I'd like to see it more understand the critical thinking concept of education and make it more of a learning experience. It can be used for real learning. So the goal of my project was to think of 21st century learning skills, particularly information literacy and digital citizenship. And all of us here in a virtual world realize that we are creating digital footprints and online brands and online identities, and students are doing the same. They just don't know it yet. And so my goal was for these students to build a game and teach other students about digital citizenship. And this is just the beginning of my journey on this. The film that you just saw was actually created last year in 2013. Just this week, I'm finishing my second Minecraft project, and they're taking it further and really taking it seriously about learning. And I'm going to drop the link in the text chat for those that would like to see what's going on now.
Okay, I should actually add here that we're not live on this channel all the while, as you might expect. We're just bringing selected panels and keynotes, but we do have a selection of other Machinima on the channel, including, I guess it's a longer version of the one we just saw by Val. Which
actually it's a whole nother year. It's the next year, how the next class did.
Oh, right. Well, it's a bit longer. I think it's about 15 minutes or something. But if you're watching the TV channel in downtime, with a bit of luck, you'll see it playing much longer version. And it is fascinating to me, particularly because I'm not a big fan of pixelated sort of stuff, Lego. But it's been fascinating to me the huge take-up of Minecraft, and also the way it is being employed in the education sector. So I found that film very fascinating, and all the real life kids who were doing it as well. Okay, let's move to you, Stylianos. What were you trying to achieve with your film, and how successful did you think it was?
Well, since we are only amongst ourselves and in a worldwide audience, I can certainly now publicly say that it was a concealed message to signal the emergence of virtual reality, before even Facebook bought Oculus Rift. And the ones who knew it, using inside information. No, but seriously, I had 4 specific aims for this project in this Machinima. First of all, it's an interesting and fun story to watch. A trailer, you could say, about a science fiction drama series that could be produced. And second of all, it's an educational resource on the history of virtual media that goes back to the age of the caves, the prehistoric age, and goes all the way to today and to the future. The third aim was to make a statement, create awareness about transhumanism, the future of virtual reality, human nature, conscience, and so on. And the fourth and final aim was to showcase the value of high quality education in virtual worlds, because what you see around the Machinima is the result of students producing and demonstrating their skills in the highest possible level, namely the class of 2012 of the University of Washington's Virtual World Certificate Program. So that's it. And I'm also now pasting the link here in the chat for everyone in case they missed it. Thanks.
Fine. For those of you watching the broadcast of this, you'll be able to find these links at VWBPE.org at some point. Right. So yeah, that actually is a great sort of introductory Machinima. It's actually very familiar to me. We've actually shown it on a number of other occasions in the past as one of those sort of if you want a Machinima to show that sort of describes the virtual world and its possibilities, it sort of fits into that category as an easy one to show. So very good indeed. Right, now I'll move over to Tinkerer and ask the same question. By the way, I believe that Tinkerer particularly has written material too that I believe she's going to paste into the chat for you to read at the same time. And again, we'll publish that somewhere later. Tinkerer, the same question really. What were you trying to achieve making that particular video, and do you feel you succeeded?
Well, the objective is very, very simple: making didactic videos for language teaching and learning, trying to add some spice, you can call it, to online courses. So the first part of my cinematographer experience can be found here. I'm just pasting in the chat the links. But in a few words, I would say that it was about how to conduct a crew towards the making of a Machinima. What I did not have time to do when I did my first Machinivo MOOC was editing, which I did with this Dragon's video. It is a meticulous and patient process, an ordered process to get the best out of your camera work so that you can give it full justice. The images that you'll see are the very first that I recorded, and the tools I used, Fraps for recording and Cyberlink for assembling and editing, were trial versions. So didactically, the conversation can be used within the common European framework of reference. It's a hotel conversation, being one of the first topics that students of English as a foreign language cover. I admit, I also tried to amuse myself by adding a touch of magic in bringing forward detail which would otherwise perhaps have remained unnoticed, the shoulder dragon. It then became the star of the second level of perceiving the clip, didactically framed as well, because the conversation might be used as a guessing game for higher level students. Just before I finish, I would like to give special thanks to Gwen Wazi, Carol Rainbow, and Frances G. Frances for her precious language expertise in helping me with the optimization of a dragon's words. So an invitation to all the people, teachers or learners that want to try making machinimas, do come and do go to the Machinima, the next Machinima edition. It's fun, and learning is something that goes along all the way through the 5 weeks of the course.
Well, great. In fact, looking at it, it did reminded me a bit of the work Carol Rainbow, who you just mentioned, does too. It's very lovely, clean imagery, and you know the text overlays and stuff. Did you do multilingual versions of it in terms of the subtitles and stuff? The way you use text.
In this Dragons video, I tackled subtitles too, not in my first one, which was in Italian, which is the objective of my Machinima learning and Machinima making. I want to make more videos in Italian, but this was recorded in English, and I prefer to leave it as it was. So my next ones will have to be in Italian for my use.
Maybe you should collaborate with Stylianos here. You've got the Italian in our midst.
I'd love to. We're practical neighbors. Bye.
Yes.
That's the other reason we're here, make the connections.
Yes, absolutely, truly.
Okay, let me hand over to Petlove for a minute, just to see if you were watching the videos as we broadcast them, I guess, Petlove. You got any pertinent questions from a machinima making point of view?
Well, I was going to ask what types of equipment and what types of software that you used, because I myself have also found fraps. And you're right, Rosa, about editing being a precise job that requires a lot of patience. And I wonder if any of you found yourself growing through different stages of frustration as you honed your skills and then got to a point where you could really produce what you wanted to see. You know, like, was that difficult, or did it come easily to you? Any of you?
Okay, let's start with Val again.
Sure. I just make sure you can hear my voice here in Second Life. I really enjoy editing as a creative process. It's just like writing. It's such a creative process. And I have done some editing with my school library, doing like a news show weekly. But so editing, I use fraps on a PC, and I edit in Adobe CS5 right now. I also have tried some on a Mac with some other products. So you know, there's lots of different editing tools out there. But the main thing for me is the creative process of that storytelling element of having a beginning, a middle, a flow, a sequence. And as a librarian, I want to tell you that there's many great places to get copyright-free music. It's awesome if you just credit the sources.
That
you know,
is
there are
so
a lot,
true. Yes.
There's so many. There are musicians out there that want to give away their work if you just credit them. So please, machinima artists out there, credit those artists with their great music. Thanks.
Great. Stylianos.
Yes, well, for me, I actually used the opportunity to produce this machinima in order for me to learn also the following software that also mentioned in the chats, namely ScreenFlow and Final Cut Pro. ScreenFlow is for recording, and in Final Cut Pro for editing. And actually, the opportunity, the occasion to produce this machinima was a massive open online course where you're supposed to produce one digital resource. So I came up quickly with an idea. So I actually I wrote the concept, the story, I filmed it and recorded in a couple of 1 or 2 days, and this has been my very first machinima. That's why I'm sure that an experienced eye will see lots of glitches and technical imperfections. But my favorite quote is that whatever is worth doing, it's worth doing not in a perfect way or even wrong. So that's what I have done in this machinima.
I think we learn from our mistakes. There's no such thing as perfect, however hard we try.
And I try to offer, something that's useful, as I said, that achieves these objectives for everyone. So it has been a great experience. Thank you.
Okay, Tinkerer.
I admit I fell in love with machinima making, so I love every part of it. The social part when you meet other people, so you can produce images together and invent the story. First, you have to negotiate what you want to work on. Then the setting, and I made the flowers and arrangements and prepared the set for my first video, and then actually editing. Every part has its own fascination, and so I can't say which is the one that I like best because I like them all.
I agree with you. It really is. It's a wonderful thing for those of us who do enjoy creating. It's a wonderful creative outlet.
I have to apologise, folks. I got completely mixed up earlier. I said Stylianos was Italian when he's the Greek, and it's actually Tinkero who's Italian. Yes, I'm sure they'd love to collaborate anyway. that was a real goof on my part. Never mind. Right, so we're spread against platforms, I guess. I guess, Stylianos, from what you were saying, you pretty much work exclusively on a Mac. Am I right there?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas Val and Tinkero, I guess you're principally on Windows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Windows and laptop.
Yep. I'd heard of ScreenFlow that Stylianos mentioned.
I've tried both
used
platforms, really. I like both.
I find that on a Mac you need 3 clicks, or even in Adobe on a PC, it's more clicks to get the same thing done compared to some other softwares. But then Adobe has all the great bells and whistles. So you have to decide what you really, really want.
Yeah, I agree. In Windows, of course, you have more variety. I mean, I love Camtasia, for example, for producing screencasts and so on. I have been using it for e-learning production in the past. But Macs are very robust for large-scale projects.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, another question to address, and I think this just we'll think of this like a conversation between us. Actually, is the future of machinima in general. I mean, we know, of course, of a lot of game casts and things like that they're often called machinima in the sense that there's YouTube channels devoted to them. I have a bee in my bonnet about the difference between inhabited machinima, where avatars are actually actors, storytellers, participants, and constructed machinima, which is the sort of thing that people do in Movie Storm. But there is a whole wealth of different styles and different techniques in machinima. I think the thing you probably all have in common is, like me, you're thinking of inhabited machinima because we're using virtual worlds and the presence we have in here to actually create these things, much like I and Pet, for example, do with television. That's not so much making machinima, it's more a case of sticking your camera facing talking heads and hoping for the best. But no storytelling
It's more
involved.
complicated than that.
Yeah, we have great discussions, so it's great talking radio. But given this whole wealth of machinima possibilities and the fact that using them for virtual worlds, do you see any particular direction for the future, for yourself in the future as well, but also for machinima, as an art form? And anybody can kick this off. Or if nobody else does, Val better.
I would love to jump in first with this really quickly, just to point out that I think everybody considers themselves a filmmaker these days because everybody's got a smartphone and everyone thinks that they can create these great videos. But I think that most of the videos we see online today are disposable media. It's just this quick shout out, here it is, never look at it again. And I think for machinima, the whole idea is the artistic quality of thinking about the story first and then editing it to archive something worthwhile, so it's not just a disposable, here it is, throw it away. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think it's a bit like virtual worlds themselves. I mean, you need the immersion. It's okay having mobile, fly around, quick things firing off everywhere. short term, but virtual worlds and film of any sort really is an immersion exercise. You want to sit down and enjoy the story. Yeah.
Let me continue where Val left off now, if I may, because I truly think that video is the text of the 21st century. It's going to be the absolute dominant medium, where if you cannot create it, you're going to be considered illiterate. I think sooner or later we're going to be there, and of course, Tinkerer's work is an example how brilliantly can be used for an active teaching resource. So that's I think where we're going, and I think it's going to be part of digital literacy to be able to produce videos in different, at least simple ones at the beginning. But it's going to be part of our everyday living.
I think so.
As educators, don't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think also, traditional television, I maybe end up being wrong because they seem to be trying to hijack the internet with their second screens and everything else. But traditional broadcasters, I think, are limited in a way because, we're living in an age where video is on demand. So, you can look up something, see it when you want and stream it when you want. We don't need the old-fashioned menu systems where people tell us what we should be watching. So I think, as you say, it's wide open. And in the future, everybody can make this stuff. Where they do a good job at it is another matter. But, it's video per se is going to change things. Tinkerer, how do you feel about this?
I was just reading what Joey wrote in the chat, and where he says that students are better than teachers with video technology. Well, I'd just like you all to make a somersault and leap back, because I'm a teacher and I became a student. And whenever teachers can become students, they become also better teachers. So independently on what they produce, if what comes out is learning again, then a great objective is reached. And as far as video making, I find looking at other people's videos sometimes is boring. Like going to a friend's house and seeing 150 packets or albums or photographs from the holidays. So it's always better to make it. If you can make it and edit it and make your own story, then it's even better. So the process is interesting, yes. And so perhaps editing what you filmed is going to make your film better. So I agree in a way with Valerie.
Stylianos, you have something else?
Yes, indeed. You asked about whether Machinima is going to the future, and what I would love to see, and I think it should come sooner rather than later, is going to be collaborative video editing. Just like we can edit the text together, in Etherpad or Google Drive documents and so on in a wiki. Imagine having a video wiki, be able to to do video editing all together. That's what I'm looking forward to. So
this is
video 2.0.
Yeah, actually, that is amazing. Virtual worlds are very much about collaboration. I'm reminded of Kissan Bouchard, the architect, who had a kind of architect wiki, which worked very much the same way. They were building, I think it was mostly an OpenSim in the end, but they were, there are multiple contributors, basically, being in, and also if you're making films and you've got a whole team with you, of different actors and different production people, it's collaborative anyway.
Actually, I have a story about that is very timely for this. It's not in the context of education, but this would work for all of us. I worked with a team of people, and we created a series called The Blackened Mirror. It's to be 3 seasons. We have 2 seasons done. Each season has 6 episodes. It would just be such a wonderful thing to have students create an ongoing story. But the point I'm going to make is that we started to use live stream. As I filmed, people could watch, the director and the actors could watch on live stream on the web as we went along, and the director might say, okay, let's do that again. This time I want you to shoot it from this side, Petlove, right? And the actors would say, I don't like the way I crossed the street. Let me try this again. And we did the same thing when we edited. I would do the editing. I would share it on live stream. At one point, we had 5 people, and myself all editing together, around the globe, people from everywhere. So the collaboration tools are already there. It's just, it's in the context of education, the possibilities are really terrific. And I really think that when the students start to learn how to use the tools and can accomplish the goals that you set for them, using these medium and collaborating, because we all know younger students, I worked with teenagers, they need to work together. Like, that's the developmental stage they're at. So they can write it together, they can film it together, they can edit it together, they can have a party together to watch the finished product. It's just so very engaging. It's just a perfect tool.
If we of course are broadcasting on live stream, but it's a funny thing because it's there to use for broadcasting things, and if you haven't got one, you can you really want to go to the old site livestream.com, and you can get a free account, and they give you a free channel. Initially you can't have more than 50 viewers, but you can get that up and still be free if they verify you.
It's awesome.
But it's like Pet said, it's astonishing. It's you suddenly think, well, hang on, if I do this in my private free back channel and just invite my collaborators in, we can put this whole thing together at website quickly than if we were doing our separate parts and sending them to the central pool and somebody else.
It used to be like mind reading. I would do all this taping, and then I would edit it, and then I would have to re-edit it and re-edit it and re-edit it as we went along. And we went through various proofs of it until we got what we wanted. Now we're using storyboards, and we're doing this collaborative shooting and editing. It has cut our time in half. It's improved the product, and it's just all perfect for the classroom. It would just be a really, really fine way to engage the kids.
You are so right about how the collaborative, all these tools are there. The kids can already do this.
Yeah.
But I do want to, and I think all of you are saying the same thing as far as Stylianos is right. This is the literacy of the future. But one point, when I made that comment about we don't want it to be disposable media, sometimes kids, most of us want to make this really fast, here I did it today, really fast, shout it out thing, rather than go through the creative process that requires some real critical thinking and some revision. Right. And it's a process. And if we can show them that process, that's what makes it really good.
That's the whole point. And this would encourage them and inspire them, and they would be within the guidelines of the task they've been set to accomplish. So
exactly,
there would be some real quality eventually and some real learning.
It's a slight diversion here, but for those of you who attended this conference last year, one of the events, it happened on OpenSim, in fact, was Joe Kay from Jocadia Grid gave I better call it a demonstration on Minecraft. And she noticed some very interesting things, apart from the fact that in her demonstration, she brought a lot of the kids she'd been teaching along. And these range from very little kids to, probably teenage kids at different levels. But she was very stressful of the fact that the kids were teaching her. She'd gone in with them to Minecraft, but Minecraft took over in their minds, and she was probably more used to things like Second Life here. But the kids were just having a field day in Minecraft.
And it makes them feel so good to be able to do that.
And she felt herself constantly learning herself, even though she was a teacher. It's an odd thing for education these days, I think.
Absolutely.
It's beyond the idea of lifelong learning, which is important. It's also the role of the teacher themselves. I mean, when I was young, it was textbooks, and you learn this, you learn that, and then you tested on how much you can remember. But I think nowadays the teachers are becoming the guides. And
exactly.
When you were
That's
talking
right.
about collaboration just now, I suddenly thought, well, yes, the kids take over. in something like Minecraft, they know it better than you, and they teach you instead
do.
of the other way
And
around.
they reinforce their own learning that way too.
Yeah, and
But
maybe
they still need guidance. They need guidance
yes,
in making it meaningful and high level and not just having fun. They still need guidance.
that is actually just what I was thinking and getting to. They, they are the generation that do this thing quick, and they're so excited they want to get it done quick and sit on top of it and say, "Wow, look what I've done." But as the guide, in the situation, you can bring to that, communication, the discipline of, making something that is permanent. Rather than the throwaway stuff they might be tempted to do. So it's great to see that just cross.
Yeah. It
Cross
doesn't have to
teaching.
be permanent, but it has to have quality. I mean, not everybody keeps all their footage and everything they make forever. It's okay if it's not permanent, but you need
Exactly.
it's being done for a reason, and it's the journey as opposed to the
High
destination.
quality.
Yeah, it's the journey. And that's what we want them to take.
And also think about all the advanced learning you can do when you're filming using another language. So how
Yeah.
deep inside a topic or an area of learning you can go if you're learning, if you're making a video and you're using words for a situation in another language. So that really stretches learning.
Yes, stretches, yes.
I've actually seen that in a couple of, probably Hollywood movies of late. And it always strikes me when I see it because it's uncommon. And that is dual language dialogue. I don't mean subtitles and stuff, but they'll have a scene where everybody's speaking French. And another scene where everybody's speaking English. It's normally not more cluttered than that, but they're trying to reinforce the foreignness of the environment by, by speaking the language that's relevant. Now, obviously, most of it will be in English, but there is a certain thing of switching to the French language for the French participants. And I can actually see Machinima being very useful that way, because just as we're on an international platform collaborating, we can maybe represent the multilingual aspect of it in the way we construct Machinima.
Yeah.
Having said that, Mal, I have to ask you now to say my name in Italian, Rosa Violetta.
Rosa come again?
Rosa?
Rosa Violetta.
Rosa Violetta.
Yes, okay, thank you very much.
Rosa Violetta. Okay, well that's the other half of Tinkerer, folks. Okay, well time flies by when we have these discussions. I just know it. We did show the Machinima too, so we've been we're past the hour. So I think I'd like to go around all of you as well. Just anything you're dying to say that you haven't said that hasn't been covered by what we've done so far, but also what is the next step for you? What are you going to be doing next? Again, I'll start with that.
Okay, sorry about that. Juggling my tools here. I plan to continue. I firmly believe that virtual worlds are one of the best ways to promote high-level learning in digital culture. I've used this term global participatory digital culture. It's where kids now live. And all of us on this stage, we're showing where that is going to be in the future. It's global. They're global. They have it on their digital technology on them all the time. And so I'm planning on continuing this journey of learning how to find the best tools possible to help them learn to become great digital citizens in the future. That's kind of my goal.
Great. Stylianos.
Well, yes. I think that I think I lost it, but what I find most fascinating is that virtual worlds can have an effect beyond the digital world that Val had just said. I have seen the transformation with interacting with virtual environments coming back into the physical and transforming physical practices. And I have one such example that I'm going to share a story in one session that's coming. It's coming later in this conference if you're interested. So I think that it's important for us as educators to use virtual immersive environments, not just for online and e-learning environment and e-learning teaching and online teaching that's coming from for someone who breathes and lives online and teaches online, but we can have very meaningful uses of virtual worlds in face-to-face and classroom-based learning experiences, and that's something that it's going to be even encourage even more people to come and use it for their classroom practices. That's something that I'm looking forward to sharing some more practices, ideas, and success stories. Thanks.
Wonderful. Tinkra, I'm not going to try that real name again.
I was thinking you would have. The aim of the next work is going to be very simple. Always use the common European framework of reference, because that gives levels and steps which is possible to share with other teachers and remain within. Oops, sorry, I didn't press the button. So excuse me.
Oh.
So the objective is very simple: remain within the common European framework of reference for the levels, so that teachers, as much as possible, as many teachers as possible, can share the levels at which the material is going to be used, and so have very simple, short videos, but that can be used at many different levels. So basic users, middle, and advanced users. As simple as that.
Great. Well, we all look forward to the future. Any closing thoughts from you, Petlove?
Indeed. I had a real brainstorm a few days ago, and I've actually thought about Machinima in conjunction with elder care. I know that there are services out there that offer people the opportunity to dictate their life story and have it published in a small book for their family members. I thought it might be nice if people would be interested in having a Machinima made of some part of their lives, perhaps, or a Machinima message for their loved ones, you know, in terms of senior citizens and what they might want to leave as a legacy. So that's sort of a different twist on education, but it still applies, and it's something I'm going to explore.
Well, that's very fitting, because there's a clip that we've been running on the channel in the prelude boot-up sequence to the convention, so to speak. And you'll have to forgive me, I forget the filmer and the details, but it's a very short clip featuring two, let's just say, the senior person avatars. And it's a husband and wife, and the wife is trying to explain to her husband, you know, how they can, recapture their youth and their interests. And, oh, you must come into this place with me, husband, we can fly and we can go to Paris again. And, it's just great. And, you look at it and, it sends a totally different message about the power of virtual worlds than just about anything, because people don't expect the cartoony characters to be aging, and the voices too. They just don't, it just puts a whole new context on the potential. So that is quite appropriate you said that. Okay, well, I think we better wrap it up here. So stick with. I don't know whether there's anything immediately else coming up on the agenda here. It's certainly not something we're filming, but there are many events going on around the complex of sims here. There's two showground sims, and there's the welcome area, and of course this big 4-sim complex. So a lot to see, and I think it's going to be a hard job for you to see it all, even in the space of 4 days. So hope you've enjoyed this little discussion looking at Machinima. And that if you're not familiar with Machinima, any of you, then sort of check it out and see what it can offer you. And so with that, I'm going to hand back our broadcast to the actual playlist on the channel, and wish you all the best in world here as you head on out into the complex. Once again, I'll thank Val Librarian Greg, or Dr. Valerie Hill.
Thank you very much, Mal.
I will thank Stylianos, Mr. I'll tell you what, I'll thank you and you tell them properly.
Thank you, Mel, and thank you for trying to spell my name. It's Stylianos Mystakidis.
Very good.
But thank you for being here.
And thank you to Tinkerer as well. And I'll give you, Tinkerer, the same job. Give me that lovely real-life name again.
Rosa Violetta. Thank you, Mal. Thank you, Petlove. Thank you, Vali and Stylianos, for sharing. And thank you all for being here tonight. Virtual friends and old virtual friends and new virtual friends.
It was nice to meet you all. It really was. And best of luck.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nope, don't run away yet.
Yes, look, he's anxious to run off here.
He's got things to do.
Hey, this is on camera. They can see you leave.
He tried to run.
Yeah, he tried to run. Well, that was a bit like Philip test rehearsal earlier.
Okay.
He landed in the wrong place and was descended on by 1,000 avatars. And
oh dear.
quickly disappeared again. Right. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for watching or just being here, of course, virtually. Enjoy the conference, and we will. We'll probably be back next year with this panel, but there will be plenty more for you to see and hear in the next few days. So with that, I'm handing us back over to the live stream.